Have you ever worked with someone who was 18 but thought it already had marriage and life? You had it all figured out. Yeah, we had one of those. This kid was about 18, maybe 19, 6 foot tall, baby face, but tried really hard to act tough. And he was getting married in a month. So we figured it was time, time to introduce him to the woodshop's tradition, our after work watering hole. Now, if you've ever worked in a woodworking shop, you know every crew has got a place. And before we left, like always, we would line up to use the phone. This was back before cell phones. You called home. You told your wife where you were going to go. It was simple. Well, not him. He looked at us and said, "You guys have to call home just to go have a beer. I'll never let a wife control me like that." We just kind of looked at each other and finished making our calls. Didn't say a word. Now, fast forward a month. He's back from his honeymoon. We get off work. The line forms at the phones again. But this time, he heads straight for the truck. Then suddenly, he comes rushing back in. "Oh, I got to use the bathroom." Something didn't set right because the bathrooms were on the right and he went to the left. So I waved the guys back in, real quiet. We eased up to the break room, and there he was on the phone. "Oh, come on, honey. Just one beer with the guys." We all stood there listening. Finally, he said, "All right, okay, thank you," and turned around, and he saw us all standing there. Without missing a beat, he says, "Calling home so she knows where I am. That's just the polite thing to do when you're married." Like he invented it. We lost it. That night, he didn't have one beer, not even close. We made sure of that. And since I was the sober one, I drove him home. His new bride opened the door. She was not impressed. Not at all. I told her, "Don't worry. I'll be back at 6 a.m. to pick him up for work." She said, "I don't think he's going to make it to work tomorrow." I said, "Well, he will." Then I looked at her and I said, "If you want him to have one beer and come home, then make sure he's up and ready at 6 a.m. Because being married changes things. You don't get to disappear anymore. You don't get to tap out. There are consequences now." The next morning, I banged on his door at 6 a.m. sharp. "I hope you're ready. We've got a full day." Man, he looked like death warmed over, but he showed up. By noon, he finally was able to speak. "Why are you guys working me so hard? You know I drank too much last night." That's when Greg spoke. Now, Greg never talked. Some guys never heard his voice. But when he did, everybody listened. Greg said, "You made a choice last night. Now you live with it." He said, "If you're going to go out, you'd better still show up because a husband doesn't get to call in sick just because he made a bad decision." Then he said something I've never forgotten. "Your wife doesn't just need someone to love her. She needs someone she can count on." Yeah, that was real. That stuck with me. And it stuck with the kid, too. A few days later, he was back to joking with us again. But he was different. He was more grounded, more aware. The last I heard, he's got a couple of kids now, a full journeyman carpenter, built himself a good life. When he says he's stopping for one beer, he means one beer. Then he goes home for the life that he's learned to protect. You see, we didn't take him out to have a beer to relax. We knew this young man, and we knew he was headed for a hard road being married, and his wife was a lovely girl. So we decided, a few of my friends and Greg, that we were going to show him in one lesson, hard lesson, one lesson, one night, one day of having to live with a bad decision from the night before, what it means to be a husband. Protect that family and wife that you've chosen, the life that you've chosen to start with that wife. And it paid off. I left that particular company just a few months later, but my friends continued working there. One night, over a few beers, about 10 years later, some of my friends that still worked there reported that he was still working there, and he was still only having one beer, and then home to his wife and two little kids. You know, sometimes we can hear people tell us good advice, but it's not until we have to live a little bit of it. Oh, he thought he was having fun that night, but the next day he paid the price. And we wanted to make sure he paid the price, because that meant it was cemented in his mind that if you want to go play as a husband and a father, the next day you have to get up and pay the price and still show up for work, because that wife and those children, they still need a roof over their head. They still need food in their bellies, and they still need a man to come home and be dad and be the husband to their mother. That was the lesson that we tried to instill in him that night and the next day. And I think it stuck. Well, I'm Grandpa Chuck. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.